18, 2025. Julie, will you take roll?
Councilmember Alberish,
Here.
Councilmember Brown,
Here.
Councilmember Gold,
Here.
Councilmember Wall, Mayor Domkowski.
Here. Councilmember Alberish, will you lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance?
Flag, United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, liberty and justice for all.
Hey, thank you very much. Moving on to public comment. Persons wishing to address the council in any matter not on the posted agenda are invited to do so. Please note, however, that the council is not able to undertake extended discussions or to act on non-agendized items. Such items can be referred to staff for a future agenda item. Are there any members of the public that would like to make a comment on any item not on the agenda this evening?
For those online, please use the raise hand feature if you'd like to make a comment. I see no raised hands.
Okay, we will close public comment and move on to the town manager report. Mr. Ledbetter.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor and the Woodside Town Council. This is Jason Ledbetter, the town manager. The town held a town hall on October 29th to allow the public an opportunity to engage Caltrans on the proposed four-way stop sign project at the Highway 35 and Highway 84 intersection. The town hall was held here in Independence Hall. The public showed up in person and via Zoom on this topic with over 100 public participants attending. Public feedback was given to Caltrans, and the San Mateo County Supervisor Ray Mueller moderated the event. The town also held a second town hall that same evening on October 29th with Supervisor Ray Mueller moderating panelists from the County Department of Emergency Management, the San Mateo County Sheriff's Office, and the Woodside Fire Protection District. The panel answered questions from the public related to the system during emergencies. The initiation for this town hall came after the I-280 fire over Labor Day weekend, where members of our community were not notified by the SMC alert system, even though they were signed up and within very close proximity to that fire. That evening, discussion on training agencies on how to post and the need for a final posting to clear or notify the residents that things are under control and the escalation has subsided were all discussed as measures moving forward. I attended the Wednesday lineup at Woodside Elementary School on Wednesday, November 5th, and handed out to parents TCAP and CAC #2 meeting happenings on December 2nd at 6 p.m. here in Independence Hall. This was a really interesting opportunity because it really comes very quickly, and you have an assembly essentially happening the first Wednesday of the month at Woodside Elementary. And so it's not necessarily a great opportunity to engage verbally, but being seen and seeing a number of people, they were very excited to see us there, a number of the parents, and we were able to hand out information and just continue to show presence within the community. So it was a very good opportunity for us. On Wednesday, 11/5, the mayor and I had what's going to be an annual lunch meeting with the sheriff captain and administrative sergeant that service our contract, both Frank and Nick, who you've seen at multiple meetings. We discussed the current contract, our concern about traffic and safety in our community, and the future sheriff position that has now been filled, we discussed as well, and also learned about some of the future policing with technology that we're going to see in the United States. And then finally, on Friday, 11/7, I was notified by Councilmember Wall of an incident with a member of the equestrian community nearly having herself and her horse hit by a marketing vehicle that was trailing 100 cyclists. The cyclists were in the area here on the peninsula for an event on Saturday and Sunday, but they were not permitted within Woodside, as they had not gone through the process with the circulation committee to apply for a cycling permit. So after speaking with a member of the community involved in the incident, I determined I would notify the event organizers that they did not have a permit and that we were notifying our contractual law enforcement officers with the San Mateo County Sheriff's Office that we wanted to enforce that they had no permit and they weren't going to be able to have their event on Saturday and Sunday. I was then contacted by the event organizers, and for the next 2 hours, they worked to take measures to claim that they claimed that would bring the safety and compliance for the event to happen on Saturday and Sunday. I went back and spoke to the member of the community that brought this to our attention, and she was very satisfied with this outcome. And so ultimately, we allowed the event to move forward, and we expect that they want to have this event at future annually in the future, and that they know that they will be coming back in front of the circulation committee to request a permit. That's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you. Questions for Jason?
Oh, actually, Mr. Mayor, I do have one ask of the council this evening, and that is that we have an agenda alteration request for you guys. Item number 5 on the consent agenda will need to be moved to new business as item B. This item requires a 4/5 vote as it is emergency in nature, and we want to vote on this item individually. And then on that same item, we have an update to the cost, as the original proposal had not provided prevailing wage figures. And so the current cost we had with a 15% contingency, somewhere around, I think, $193,000. And now we're looking at the escalation at $222,000 roughly. So a difference of $27,000 is what we're asking you to recognize that alteration on this item that we are moving to item B as new business, or that is the request.
You need a formal vote on that?
Yes, we do.
Okay.
Can we just pull it from the consent, or do you need to move it to new business?
You could do it either way. I think what the manager is just indicating is it should be a presented staff report so we can explain and you can have the opportunity to do the 4/5 vote.
Okay. Are there any further questions on the agenda change issue? Okay, seeing none, Julie, can we take a vote to move item 5 of the consent agenda to new business item B? This is the 303 Hillside item.
Councilmember Alberish,
Yes.
Councilmember Brown,
Yes,
Councilmember Gold, Councilmember Wall, and Mayor Domkowski.
Yes, thank you for that. And we'll go right back because we didn't were there any questions? I'm sorry, for the town manager. And any questions from the public? Seeing none, we will move right along. So next up is the consent agenda. All items here are considered routine and will be approved with one roll call motion unless a request is made to pull one of the items. Are there any items of the 4 remaining that one would like to pull? Yes,
I'd like to pull number 4.
number 4.
Before I get a reaction. It's not because I'm object to the contract at all whatsoever, but I do like to suggest that we put someplace in the contract, any contract with a legal firm, who's responsible for mileage to and from town hall for meetings, and who pays for it.
Okay, we're going to take this a little out of order, but there's a question on item 4. Go back and we'll motion and approve on the other 3.
Yeah, currently, we actually have a contract with our attorney firm, and they do not bill us for those actions. They just take those, it's inclusive of the service within the contracted service. They do not bill us to commute to the meetings.
Okay, then I'm fully satisfied.
Great.
All I would say is that if we were paying for it, it should be specified. It's not very good. Thank you.
Okay. Could I get a motion on items 1 through 3?
So moved. Second.
All 4?
I think his question was answered unless he'd like a separate vote on number 4.
Okay, thank you. Then we'll do all 4.
Second,
Petition group tonight.
Councilmember Alberish,
Yes.
Councilmember Brown,
Yes.
Councilmember Gold, Councilmember Wall, Mayor Domkowski.
Yes, thank you. New business item A, resolution authorizing the town manager to execute an agreement not to exceed 298,300 for a sanitary master plan.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor and the Woodside Town Council. So this evening, we're going to hear from Sean Rose Engineering, the principal, Sean Rose, who we've outsourced this project management to. And obviously, you know Sean, as he was the Public Works Director here for about 7 years, and he has a brief presentation on this item.
Welcome, Mr. Rose. Is that on? Not sure it's on.
So great to see all of you, Mayor and council members. So this item before you, this sanitary sewer master plan, this is to approve the contract with Fryer and Loretta. The town went out for an RFP recently and got 2 proposals. Both proposals were valid. We did a pretty careful evaluation, town staff and myself. And we are recommending that you select Fryer and Loretta as the firm. With us tonight, I believe on Zoom, I can't see the Zoom attendees, but is Jeff Tarantino, the Vice President of Fryer and Loretta, in case there are any technical questions that you might have. The sanitary sewer master plan, the town has not done such a plan in quite a while. It's pretty standard for a sewer purveyor, owner, maintainer of a sewer system to do so. I mentioned in the staff report that there are downstream parties that the pipe sewer system flows to. Redwood City, Fair Oaks, which is the county of San Mateo. Fair Oaks Sewer District is a sub-district of, I think there are 11 or so sub-districts within the county. Fair Oaks is one of them, and they operate a sewer system in town directly in Woodside Heights at a couple other locations. And then they also provide the ability for the other districts, the other 2, Redwood Creek and Town Center, to flow through down to Redwood City and then ultimately down to the treatment plant. In Redwood City, which is Silicon Valley Clean Water. As I mentioned in the report, the benefits of a sewer master plan, the downstream parties have recently embarked on their own master plans. So they have information about their systems. And even when I was here previously, they had contacted me about needing that our information to input into their models and their master plan. So this will provide the ability to have that data and to feed into their the work that they've done downstream. They're asking us for flow rates, capacity information. So this will help with those negotiations. We have agreements with all of those parties for treatment and conveyance. This will help with those agreements. Also, housing that comes online, before you've regularly, you get sewer connections before you're asked to approve those. And so, and some of those are just a matter of course, but over time, as these connections, increase, there's a need to just confirm that capacity exists in the system to allow those additional connections. And so in terms of what the scope of work would be, it would be creating a hydraulic model of the system, looking at the flows, not only from properties, but from stormwater. Stormwater gets into a sewer system. We'd like that to be 0, but the reality is it does happen through a number of different ways that occurs, and that's referred to as a peaking factor. So this study will physically put flow monitors in the manholes, in the systems, to monitor the actual flow that's in the pipe. We have an idea what the synthetic flows should be based on the gallons per day each residence utilizes, but this will give us specific real information in the pipe of what's actually in there. And then from that, we'll develop a hydraulic model, as I said, get capacity information. Also, what will come out of this is a CIP. So any thing that's found that's either under capacity or of a condition that needs to be rehabilitated or replaced will be identified. And the master plan will include a recommended CIP for sewer. I think there's this placeholder in your adopted CIP for sewer, but this will give some specificity to that. And then this will also allow the ability to answer what if questions. So whether it's housing that comes that is being proposed that's going to connect to that system, or whether it's renegotiating our agreements downstream, this will allow us to go into the model and ask those what if questions and get answers. So that concludes my remarks. I or Jeff from Fire and Loretta are here to answer any questions.
Wonderful, thank you. And it's great to have you back in the house. Any questions for Mr. Rose, Mr. Tarantino, or staff? Yes, Councilmember Brown.
Yeah, I'm curious, what forecasts and housing requirements were we able to give them? In other words, out the next 5 or 10 years out, we know we have to build X number of 300 something units, and then another, God knows how many beyond that. How far out do you have to project for them?
So
I can go ahead and chime into that one, but ultimately, I think we're mostly just focused on what the capacity of the system currently is, and then with the housing element items that we've already committed to, we'll incorporate those items back into the analysis, and then ultimately, those that are within the district, they're entitled to connect, and so they'll have to be accommodated. And then within the general plan, there's also verbiage about how we're setting aside a portion of connections for people that have failed septic systems in the future. So ultimately, although it takes into account the future and the hypothetical future of development, it's really telling us what is happening inside of the pipe in real time now versus what we're claiming. We're kind of dry labbing numbers currently. We're stating based off of water needs, we expect X to come out of the sewage, and that's flowing through the pipes. This is going to tell us exactly what is technically flowing through the pipes. And so we're not completely focused on hypothetical development as much as we're focused on what is actually flowing through the system. I'm sorry if just wanted to clarify that.
I guess what I'm trying to get at is, when will we have any idea whether the current sewage capacity is adequate for the current demand that we know we have to build to? And then the future demand as well. When will we get that answer?
Yeah, and so I think at the end of the complete totality of this plan, but I think we're also looking at the town center area specifically, and we anticipate that we're going to come back to you in late March on that particular sewer system to answer those exact questions.
Councilmember Wall.
Mr. Rose, I got one question for you, and then I have another question for Mr. Tarantino. But you mentioned that the master plan will be able to result in some CIP recommendations. And I just wanted to understand, with the sequencing of this work such that those CIP recommendations would be able to occur for this upcoming fiscal year. So as we, go into budgeting mid-year, would those CIP recommendations be ready for that process?
They would be. There's going to be near-term and long-term improvements recommended with a prioritization based on the condition and the potential impact of the system. And then I think you have a standing budget for sewer improvements that is kind of, again, kind of a placeholder. I don't know if you've got specific projects identified right now, but I believe there's budget for projects to slot in that item that would be near-term improvements. And depending on what that is, those could be done or should be done in the near term, utilizing that budget. And then there'll be longer-term improvements as well identified.
Great. And then Mr. Tarantino, this is just maybe more from my general understanding. So when we're talking about capacity, in particular in Woodside, where I think a lot of our capacity depends on those that are downstream from us, like how much of the capacity question is really out of our hands? Like how much are we dependent on, say, Redwood City for sewer capacity?
Yeah, thank you, Councilmember. So in terms of the kind of the downstream capacity, currently Redwood City, through the agreements that Sean spoke to, has allocated a total of 150,000 gallons per day for the Redwood Creek area, and then 100,000 gallons per day of capacity in the for the town center service area. So that capacity is basically being made available to you for use. Now, if we start approaching that capacity, then we start getting into those conversations with the downstream partners and at the treatment plant about what other additional capacity they may have. Should we find through our analysis that additional capacity is needed? Which, again, at this time we don't know that answer, but there could be limitations from the downstream partners depending on what future projections show, and if we need additional capacity other than the contractual obligations that the town already enjoys.
Okay, that makes sense. And then in terms of understanding the capacity constraints or capacity opportunities of our downstream partners, is that information publicly available or available to us if we ask? Like, do we already have a sense of what the capacity, numbers look like for Redwood City?
Yes, they do. They do have publicly available master plans, and I think part of what some of the work that Sean and I will be doing initially is reaching out to the partners to have a discussion with them about kind of what their recent master planning efforts have shown. I don't know right now as I'm speaking to you what their master plans say, but that's part of our kind of first order of work is gathering that data, looking at the publicly available documents, and I'll work through Sean and town staff if we want to request any other information so we can get a sense of what capacity constraints, if any, may exist in the downstream partners system that we use to convey sewer flows to.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Other questions from council?
I do.
Councilmember Gold.
Let me follow through on Councilmember Wall's questions with Mr. Tarantino. So the big issue, I guess the gating item is the capacity of the processing plants that we've got, and that would be Redwood Creek and the town center, which I don't know, is that Fair Oaks who processes them? I don't know.
Those flows go through the Fair Oaks pipes and Redwood City pipes to the that gets processed at the treatment plant,
Yes.
which is Silicon Valley Clean Water.
Okay, so it's where the treatment, the capacity of the treatment, and I think you mentioned it's 150,000 with Redwood Creek and 100,000 with the town center land. So we're obviously using some of that capacity now. So there's some space there that we could use. And I guess the question that Jen asked was the ability to get more capacity if we need it in the future. So is that sort of the starting point that we have to go to figure out what the top line capacity is before we do anything?
It is, if I could jump in on that. It is, and in fact, I mentioned the staff report, the general plan envisions that the town would do that periodically, look for additional capacity. Just to clarify, the numbers, the 100,000 and 150,000, both of those were based on projections, not actual flows, because they were building the system at the time. They were based on projections of what each parcel within the district at formation, as defined as mapped at formation, based on a sewage generated from each parcel at build out. But since formation, not all the parcels have been connected. So initially there were certain percentage connected, and over time, councils approved additional connections as per the process outlined in the municipal code for those properties that have a right to connect but haven't connected yet, and they come online. There are, and now as we stand here today, the majority in both the TCAD and the RCAD are connected, but there still are properties outstanding, but those properties theoretically are included in those numbers, because those parcels, whether they were connected or not, went into the original calculation.
There's some accommodation for them,
Right.
even if they're not connected.
But the missing piece is that we don't have the actual data. Those were just theoretical numbers
So
based
we don't
on.
have any actual data at all? What we send
We
them?
have some at the pump station because the pump station is metered. It's metered for a lot of reasons, including the fact that we pay a bill based on that flow. But the flows we have there, we will be relying on. But what we don't have is within the collection system out in the streets, in the manholes, the flows at those locations. That's what we need.
And I'm assuming the agencies, the processing agencies can provide us with the actual numbers where we are today. They should be able, they bill for it, so
They,
must have
they
some.
can at the pump station, but there's parts of of Redwood Creek, the Glens, for example, flows through the Redwood Creek trunk main, doesn't come to the pump station. It goes along Redwood Creek directly by the golf course and goes into Highway 84. That's unmetered. So we don't have numbers there, and
So
we would get numbers with this
The
study.
agency would have. Because
Uh,
ultimately they have to hit the processing plant, correct?
They may, and when Jeff and I meet with them, we're going to we're going to access any data that they have because their master plan was flow metering their system. The critical thing is because they merge at some point near the golf course, they merge into other
I see.
locations that aren't our system. So we're going to dive into the detail and make sure that we get what they have and then also get our own flow data.
This will really be the first time we get good numbers on what these, what this, what the capacity is and what we're sending to them.
Certainly in recent memory that,
So this is a much more complicated project than I anticipated, just based on what I've heard so far. So our priorities are obviously existing parcels and then existing parcels who have paid, but not necessarily connected yet, correct? And there's some of those.
Yeah.
And I'm looking at the map that you provided in the appendix here. And I noticed that specifically in the Glens and Woodside Heights and some in Woodside Hills, there are parcels that are not colored in that look like they should be. In other words, you see like 10 houses in a row and there's a missing one.
Yeah.
Maybe they paid and they're just not hooked up yet. I assume that's it. I just want to make sure that those parcels, which as I said, are primarily in the Glens, Woodside Heights and Woodside Hills, are in fact, they will have some priority here because in many cases, I assume they've been waiting for a long years, maybe even decades, to hook up.
they absolutely will. In fact, they already do in terms of the municipal code and all the rules around those districts when they were mapped. If you're in the boundary, and as shown on the map, there's also contiguous parcels, those dots.
Yes.
Those are parcels that touch a parcel that's in, so they're the first ones out. They also have a path to connect. When you get outside of that, then they don't.
Right.
So there's and so as I said, the capacity reservations are already there for all those folks, whether they're connected now or not.
Got it. Okay, I just wanted to clarify that. The other thing about priorities, the housing element in the housing element that was certified just a year or so ago, a year and a half ago. We need capacity for those parcels as well. So that's going to be part of this assessment that you're going to be doing, correct?
Correct. Yeah, that's correct.
And so the number of units that we have there have to be accommodated somehow with how much they're going to produce and how much will be delivered, correct? And
I
you're
think
gonna use that-
what we're going to do is by determining the capacity in the existing collection system that those projects would be tying into, then knowing from the engineers on each of those projects will tell us how much flow they're going to be contributing into the system. We'll be able to know whether that can be accommodated or not, and if not, what needs to be done to get to yes or not. So those types of what if questions are a key part of this. Having the model and having all the data that we will collect early in the study will allow us to answer all those questions when development projects come online or are proposed. And once we have the model, we can model scenarios, we can model the approved housing element, or we could model individual projects as they're proposed.
This is getting more complicated than I even thought. And then the last thing I wanted to mention is you mentioned that we're going to try to accommodate, there needs to be some provisions for failing septic systems, currently failing septic, because we know that septic systems fail. And assuming that they're either within the flow range of where these are, is their location important as well? I mean, they have to be within the domain of being hooked up to the sewer line.
Yeah, if they're.
It's not just
um,
any failed septic system. It's a failed septic system that is no further out than the contiguous lots.
Correct. When you're within or contiguous and you have a failed, you can demonstrate a failed septic system, and that happens quite frequently. The path that you have to request and receive a hard pipe sewer allocation varies by district, and it's outlined in the municipal code. It's in recent years been revised by council, most recently in 2022, where the showing of failure was changed to really just requesting an allocation. If you were in the district and had a right to connect, where previously you had to show failure, that was reversed, and the municipal code was revised by council action in 2022 to allow those connections to be made without a showing of failure in certain districts, and the details are there in the staff report.
So my last question, Mr. Tarantino, I don't want to leave you out, although Sean might be able to answer this too. Any other experience recently with other cities, towns, municipalities with this kind of an issue that is in general, are the processing plants, are they trying to increase their capacity, or are these like severely limited? I mean, is it kind of like water as a resource? I mean, we're seeing everybody cracking down on that. Is that true also with sewage, with the sewer systems as well? Or are they all actively working to try to increase their capacities?
Yeah, there's actually a lot of different studies at most plants throughout the Bay Area currently. As Sean said, master planning is kind of a key process that agencies do. We recently completed the master plan for the East Palo Alto Sanitary District, and they convey their untreated flows to Palo Alto, and they own 7.25% capacity of the Palo Alto plant. And so I was actually talking with one of the engineers at the plant today, and their long range facility planning effort are showing that generally flows are within expected ranges. The future projected flows with the various housing elements obviously are showing an increase of flows, but not necessarily a significant increase that starts affecting capacity. I think, as you stated, council member, people are cracking down on water use and water efficiencies, and so that kind of benefits the sewer side, because if we're using a little bit less water indoors, there's less water being sent to the sewer. So currently, I'm not aware of any facilities in at least on kind of the San Mateo side that are projecting to be over capacity at the treatment plant. But that is something that a number of agencies, including Silicon Valley, are continuing to look at on a regular basis.
Good, thank you. Thanks to both of you.
Okay, two quick questions and one comment. The first is just on the cost side, there seemed to be a pretty big change in this process from initial bid to where we are now. Can you describe a little bit about what happened there?
Sure. So we looked at their original proposal was, I think I had the number in the staff report, it was over 400,000.
Yeah.
What we identified is Jeff had assumed condition assessment work that we really don't need to do. We can leverage, and the reason for that is the town has a maintenance contract with the West Bay for the town center district, which already, and as part of that contract, we already pay for rotational camera video work in the lines and manholes. It's on a quarterly basis. They don't do it all at once, but the rotation is in a couple of years, you go around to the various areas and collect all that. So we had all that at hand. So we didn't need to pay for that again. And Jeff was great and understood that. So he removed that from his proposal, and it led to a pretty significant cost savings.
Really appreciate that. I'm sure it's music to all of our ears, especially Councilmember Brown's. A little education. This is being funded out of the Sanitary Sewer Enterprise Fund. That's a ratepayer situation. It's on our books. How big is it? Yeah, any color you can provide on that. We understand the earmark.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor. This is Jason Leber, the town manager. And so ultimately, we generally talk about the general fund. And in this instance, we're talking about an enterprise fund. So the ratepayers pay a fee in order to a monthly or annual fee. In order to have sewer service, that money is collected, brought back to the town, and placed into an enterprise fund where it can only be utilized for that said purpose for the sewer. And so currently we have about $1.1 million in this enterprise fund. When talking to the Administrative Services Director here, Cindy Safe, when we look at our expenses and revenues and where we anticipate to land at the end of fiscal year 2026, when you incorporate this cost, we anticipate to be at $863,000 from the 1.1 million. So we're in great shape, and we're utilizing the money in the way that we should by doing the master plan.
Thank you. And then the one comment, it just keyed off when you talked about a peaking factor. When we went through the RENA cycle recently, there was one resident in Councilmember Gold's neighborhood who's along the sewer line there, sort of near High Road, and explained that at times there's a sewage overflow issue that comes out into his pool. And so I just mentioned that as you, I know it's not part of the scope necessarily, but you talked about potential projects that might come out of it. Maybe we could share that address with you all so that that individual at least could be, we never verified that. We didn't see pictures of it, but we heard about it like 5 separate times in the cycle. So just want to mention that.
I remember the gentleman.
Yes, you do. So maybe we'll just reach out and just deliver that address to the degree that,
That'd be great. We would want to
Yeah.
have that for the study for sure.
yeah, another question?
One quick one.
Yeah.
Parcels. Is a parcel the property outside of somebody's, an acre property, it's an acre, one parcel? When you're adding ADUs, how does that compute in the,
It's an
everything's
inc-
based on a parcel?
It's an increase over the calculated capacity at formation. They assumed, let's say, in the originally at formation it was an acre. And that's then subdivided or multiple housing units put on it. That was not envisioned in the original capacity analysis. So that's another one of the big reasons we need to do this, is to understand what the SB 9 and some of the other housing bills where it's changing the amount of connections on a parcel, or those parcels have changed to multiple parcels within the district, because those were not accounted for. It's simply a parcel times the amount that parcel would be generating calculation. So this study will give us a lot of insight into not only existing condition, but then how those additional connections could be accommodated or not.
No, I'm reading in the write-up that it talks about designated multifamily development, but I don't think an ADU is considered a multifamily. Well, I just want to make sure that the ADUs are being captured in the
They're
planning.
going to be captured because we're going to do flow monitoring. So we're going to get the actual flow into the system. So if an ADU's been added on a property that might have increased flow, it might be that that flow is actually combined with the primary house flow is not greater than what was assumed. So that's why we have to get to actual numbers away from the theoretical numbers that underpin the original capacity, contractual capacity, so that we can get to making decisions based on what's actually happening in the system.
Okay.
Okay. Any other questions for staff? Okay, moving on. Any questions or comments from the public?
If you'd like to make a comment, please use the raise hand feature. There are no raised hands.
And we see no comments in the room, so we will close public comment. Council deliberations, anything anyone else would like to add to the discussion? Well, I think we're going to move to a vote. I will just say, listening to the council, one of your predecessors, Councilmember Scott, used to always say that he was #1 in the #2 business. He really loved these sewer discussions, and I'm very happy that we have continued in his proud stead. And with that, we will take a vote. Julie? Oh, I'm sorry. You're right.
In-
Yes. Can I get a motion
In,
as I
in,
move along?
in
Sorry.
honor of Councilmember Scott,
Excellent.
I move to approve the resolution authorizing the town manager to execute an agreement with Fryer and Loretta, Inc., in an amount not to exceed $298,300 and to execute change orders as needed in amounts totaling no more than 15% of the awarded project cost or $44,745 for the completion of the Town of Woodside Sanitary Sewer Master Plan.
Second.
Councilmember Alberish,
Yes.
Councilmember Brown,
Yes.
Councilmember Gold, Councilmember Wall, Mayor Domkowski.
Yes, and I will share this honor with Councilmember Scott tomorrow. Moving on to new business item B, which is the reclassification of consent item 5, which is a resolution for engineering repairs at 303 Hillside Drive. I'll hand it off to you, Jason.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor, Woodside Town Council. Once again, Jason Ledbetter, the town manager, and we have with us again Sean Rose Engineering. Sean Rose, who is heading up this project for the town. Want to point out 2 caveats here: is that this requires a 4/5 vote to pass, and ultimately, what I stated at the start of this meeting is that we didn't have prevailing wage figures listed in this when the staff report went out. And so ultimately, with the 15% contingency, we are asking for a total of $221,898 as the not to exceed. And with that, I will, Sean Rose has a presentation on this as well.
I'll be very brief. The staff report before you is for a contract with ESR, Engineered Soil Repairs. They specialize in private and public stabilization, slope stabilization, including retaining walls. So they're ideally qualified for this type of work. The project is to stabilize the one-way hillside roadway in the Glens in front of 303 Hillside. So to clarify that the work that we'll be doing, we might need to go onto private property to actually complete the work. And there's a right of entry agreement for that with the owner there. But the actual infrastructure we're putting in is within the town right of way, which is approximately 10 feet off the edge of pavement in either direction, uphill and downhill side. That's approximate. So this project would, for this contract with ESR, would remove the encroaching shed on the property, which is currently encroaching about 8 feet into the right of way, about 2 feet from the road edge. That would be demoed out as phase 1 of this or item, a first order of work. And then the existing retaining wall within the shed would be demoed out and a new retaining wall built. One of the things I mentioned in the staff report is that we initially got a proposal for a lower wall just to stabilize the road. And then from there, there'd be a 2-to-1 slope up to the road elevation. We got a subsequent proposal to raise the wall to the road elevation so we could provide a parking space, which many of the residents in the Glens have done privately through permit work that they've done themselves, or that the town has done over the years, building retaining walls in the right of way, such as the Glens Path project is a recent example. So this project, what we're recommending is that second proposal, which is before you, that includes a taller wall, which will provide a public, and to be clear, that'll be a public parking space. It'd be in front of the property, but like the other spaces that are within the right of way, they're parkable by any member of the public. So this project would allow for that parking spot to be created as well. And with that, I'll take any questions you have.
Great. Questions for Mr. Rose?
I guess my question would be, do you feel comfortable that that's enough to do the job? 15% contingency, I mean, I know the area. It's not an easy area to work in and get into and out of. And I just worry that you're going to be coming back 2 months from now saying we need another $30,000, $40,000, $50,000, and I'd rather say up front, contingency of 25% if we think that's going to possibly happen, than to come back and go through this all over again with extra money.
I think I increased the contingency. We increased it a little bit over the standard for that reason.
I know it's 10 to 15, but is that enough?
I think it will be. I don't expect that it, I mean, the scope of work is tightly defined, and I don't see I think the main thing would be the connection to the neighbor's wall. So the downstream neighbor, I don't have the address in my head right now, but if you're looking at the property just to the right, the downhill neighbor has already installed a wall and has a parking space, private wall. We're going to be, by definition, we need to tie into that wall. So we'll be creating with this parking space, a continuous parking area that'll be about 45 feet long with the combination of this parking area and the existing one. That tie-in is the only area where I could see, once they get down into digging down to that wall, because there's only so much we could see in our site visits. So that's why I put that contingency in there, but I don't think we need to put it into the contract now. I think we're in a good spot, but it's always possible that
If
we
you're
would.
comfortable with that, I'll. pull it in. Thank you.
Any other questions? Yes, Councilmember.
Quick one. It's such a precarious, narrow road. Any special provisions for traffic mitigation, emergency vehicle mitigation during the construction?
Absolutely. We're going to follow the process that gets followed when either private owners or the town has to close the road. So we'll have a flagger at Toyon that will direct people into their residences, because it's really only closed at one spot. So anyone coming up who lives on One Way Hillside can get in at Toyon. And then we'll have barricades set up at the closer, but we'll have people physically at the barricades.
Will people have to
To
go the
let
wrong
people
way
in.
on the one-way street to come back to the other side? So in other words, they'll come up to the construction from both ends.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. And there'll be someone to greet them at the barricades so they understand that they can get in if they live there.
Yeah, and there's probably tough to turn around.
The vendor's saying that, or ESR is saying it's 2 days closure. I think that's
Oh,
pretty
not bad.
pretty optimistic, because I mean, these are,
That's fine. I thought it might be.
if you said,
much longer.
I said in the report, these are 10-foot piers into bedrock. So they're drilling, the drill rig is drilling into rock 10 feet, and there's 8 piers, I believe. So it's going to be, they'll set a drill rig on the road, and what we've told them is just get ready. When you're 8 in the morning, start drilling and keep drilling until,
Be a bit of a nightmare for this.
Okay, I think that's it from council. We'll go to public comment. Any members of the public would like to speak on this item? And seeing none in the Zoom room or in person, we will close public comment. Any deliberation from council?
Just one comment. So I think the town has been really great in coordinating with me on road closures in District 1, particularly in the Glens. So can we keep that up? Let's, stay aligned and make sure when we know when the road closure will happen, I can send out a communication on WhatsApp if we need to. It doesn't sound like we'll need the Jane Gate opened, but if that's something that we want to do, we can coordinate on that as well. I think the neighbors there really do appreciate with as much advance notice as possible. So let's just keep doing what we've been doing and make sure we communicate as clearly and in as much notice as possible.
We can do that.
Okay, I think we're going to move on to a vote, but personal comment, this is something that's, we must be 10 years into this at this point. It's been here every single year. And so this is really nice to see this box getting checked, hopefully. Again, we need a 4/5 vote. Julie, can we get a motion?
Yes, I'll make a motion that for a resolution authorizing the town manager to execute an agreement with Engineered Soil Repairs, Inc. In the new amounts
221,898.
and the new contingency. I think that was a different percentage also, with those modified percentages and dollars.
Councilmember Aparish.
Yes.
Councilmember Brown.
Yes.
Councilmember Gold.
Yes.
Councilmember Wall. Mayor Domkowski.
Yes. Very good. Thank you. Thank you, sir. And thank you, Mr. Rose. And I think we're on to volunteer committee reports. Melissa.
Thank you, Mayor Domkowski. On Friday, December 12th, from 7 to 8 p.m. will be the last sound immersion workshop with Danny Goldberg. And he's working on some dates for 2026. So those will be up on the town's calendar when they're announced. We are working on approving a red light therapy workshop to be held on Monday, December 8th from 7 to 8 p.m. with Christina Chancholo. And we hope to have a flyer up by the end of this week for registration. And the Youth Civics Program registration is open. We have room for 15 participants, grades 3 through 6, and we already have 2 people registered. The program will start on January 9th and will be for 5 weeks. Registration information can be found on the community tab on the website. And that's it. Thank you.
Did you ever get any response from us on that civic council in terms of somebody that's willing to do it?
Yes, Councilmember Wall has
Great.
signed up for January 9th, but we still need someone to fill in as mayor for the mock town council meeting. It's the February date. So you can get back to me on that. It's February 6th.
February 6th.
Did you say past Councilmember Shaw?
Yes.
that
yes.
has been
Mayor for
That
life.
has been
Councilmember
recommended
Shaw.
by the volunteerism committee, but they wanted to offer it to the
To us
corrective
first.
council
Oh,
first.
you'll make his day too.
They'd be
I-
open to that if you.
I am traveling on the 6th, so, but we'll just leave it open, and if we don't, we're happy to approach a former council member.
Perfect.
Yeah,
Thank you.
thank you. Council communications, any? I'll just mention that Assemblymember Berman is going to host an event at Bucks on December 5th in the morning between 8:30 and 10 a.m. I'm going to be there to deliver some introductory remarks and take any local questions. And of course, you are all welcome to do the exact same. And I think with that, if there are no other comments or questions, it's okay. All right. Then we'll close at 7:52.